had a dream to kill a buck from the ground with a bow in Idaho while at college. Not having my bows with me, I had to rely on other people to help provide me with a bow. This made it difficult, but way more fulfilling. We were on our way to a place that I had gotten permission where a big 10-pointer was, and about 2 miles down the road, I slammed on the brakes when I saw this.
The big one. It's the big one.
I spotted the big buck, slammed on the brakes, and then we planned to go down the road, ask for permission, and then make a stalk.
Because we could just walk this ditch all the way back there.
As you can see, I'm in my Kyries, so I was not expecting to be ready to hunt, but these were way better for spot and stalk conditions because I could be light on my feet. Now that we received permission, I made my stalk around while Seth sat where the camera symbol is. The buck saw me and I pulled back my bow, and he was about 50 yards away, coming straight at me. He had no clue I was there. And then I got to a point where there was a fence to get onto the public land. So I put my bow through first, and then I crawl underneath the fence. And during all this, with my back and hip injury, I'm absolutely dying. Like, this is the worst because I'm crawling and go through the fence. There is some, it almost looked like compost from the field. It was really crunchy stuff, and there was no way to get around it. It was the only way to get to the buck. He's 50 yards away, up on this hill, on the bank, on the edge of the field, on the public, and then I'm below him. I want him to come down, checking me out to see what I am. I would have probably a 30-yard shot in the wide open. But he's in the sagebrush with the doe that we found out, and that's why he didn't want to leave. So I use my voice when I grunt, especially if I can see them, and I let out like a or like a younger buck, like the more I open my esophagus or throat, the younger the buck sounds and stuff. And I didn't do a because I knew that the snort wheeze would probably make the doe run, and then he would follow. And sometimes a snort wheeze will also make it sound like a which is when they're running away. He gets up out of his bed and starts coming right to me, and I'm hiding behind a tree, and it's just a few twigs coming out, and he does exactly what I want him to not do. He comes straight at me and not down the way he should, where the trail is. He comes straight at me, so he's up on the bank, and now he's probably at 40 yards, 45 yards, and I can see the doe. Her ears are fluttering, but she's perfectly calm because she has no clue what's going on. And the buck's coming straight at me, puff chest, and all I see is this rack. He's probably 22 inches wide, 23 inches wide, and he just turns, and I see every single point, big 10-pointer, and he's probably like a 5-year-old, and he just walks straight to me. I can see the steam coming out of his mouth. He's absolutely pissed. He's starting to burr up. I can see the fur standing up on his back. He comes right at me, and I just see this big rack bobbing as he's coming to me. So I draw back my bow, and I'm going to step out behind the tree, but he's behind sagebrush where his chest cavity is. He wouldn't turn broadside, and then I had tons of sticks in the way. So at this point, I'm like, I have no clue what I'm gonna do. So I let down my bow because he's too far. I held it for about 4 minutes. Then he's zigzagging his way to me. Instead of going down the hill, he comes right to me on top of the hill, and he's about 35 yards away. I'm like, okay, for me, I was not going to take a frontal shot. I just couldn't. That's not something that I'm comfortable with my arrow setup, and I don't have thick enough arrows or right broadheads to be able to do that like a single blade. I just have the fixed blade muzzies, which they cannot go through that kind of stuff. So what I did was I went to pull back the second time because I was like, I'm just gonna send one to him as soon as he steps sideways. So I pull back my bow, and I'm holding it. Obviously, I'm shaking quite a bit with my release because I've never had this opportunity to be this close to a buck in person besides in a tree stand. So I pull back my bow, and I get it ready right at him, and he steps right where I want him to, but there's branches in the way. And right back when I pull my bow, I pull it back, and within 3 seconds of me pulling back my bow, I couldn't release it because I was still getting my pin set. He goes, steam comes out of his mouth, and then he darts off, doesn't care about the doe, he just runs, and then the doe freaks out and she follows him, and they run about a couple miles. He doesn't live there, and they were only there just because it was locked down in the rut, and that was somewhere where nobody else had been. So that buck was gone forever. I didn't see him the rest of the season besides on this private land, so that was the story. Spike. He sees it too. He's going down in the gully right now. To the right, up behind us. Up back here. You see him? No. This was one of the craziest moments of my entire hunting career and life. Like, I never expected that I'd have my first spot and stalk with a bow. You're stalking a buck, you want to make sure you put your toe down first, then you put your heel down to see if it's crunchy, and then you move it based on that. And that's how I made my stalk around. I basically just explained the story to Seth of the stalk, and it was unfortunate, but that's sometimes the way it goes. This was the first time that I've screwed up on the biggest buck of my life and like haven't cried or anything or gotten emotional. I was just excited that I had that kind of opportunity because some people never get that, and just like the hunting public or other people that do a lot of spot and stalks for whitetails or kind of the gun and go type strategy, their success rate's a lot lower, but they have way more opportunities. So it's pretty cool to see.
My people call me
Oh, there's another one.
but my enemies call me Namor.